It has this, but it doesn't have the, no, it's got the electrical cord. It doesn't have the thing that speaks to,
Yeah, it could be.
to the computer.
Yeah.
Is this wire?
Yeah,
It's attached, that's attached.
it's plugged in electrically too.
No, it's not plugged in.
Oh, so that's the problem.
It's not plugged in electrically. We usually go with the local wire there.
Wonderful. Good morning.
You do the electrical, do the.
Hi, Dorothy.
Good morning, Rabbi. It's good to see you. I'm so glad.
Good
it's
morning. Good morning, Anita. Let's see if,
Morning.
oh, Howard, are you okay? Oy vey. Oh, no.
Yeah.
Okay.
Truck one,
Yeah, well, next time we will have this ready. It's supposed to have been ready.
okay. Got both these.
Okay, I'm sorry.
It's all right.
Maybe my mistake.
Yeah, we need to go with the longer one next time on this.
You guys have everything in?
Yeah.
No,
I don't know. All right, we're gonna start in just a second, friends. We're just having our tech.
I don't want to switch that. So let's just leave it at-
All right, looks like everything.
Yeah.
Where it should be, but it's not.
Yeah, I can't connect to the owl. It's not coming up as an option to connect.
It's in your computer. There's something with the power cord. The power switch on the strip.
Oh, yeah. That needs to be on. It's not, as you can tell.
There we go.
There we go.
Yeah,
Okay. All right, so let's get them in here. Although it's the owl. Our friend the owl is here. The owl.
Something with your HDMI, not.
Rabbi, are we using our regular Siddur for today or?
Well, for today, yeah, we're gonna have our Seder Mishkan Tefillah, our weekdays and festivals. But today, we may look at them, but probably only briefly, because we're just gonna do an introduction. But yes, for the participating in the class, we are gonna want to have the weekday and festival Siddur. And so if you're going to be participating on Zoom, it would probably be a good idea for you to come by
Yeah.
or
This is, I have the complete one, this one.
yeah, you can
So,
have that
yeah,
one too,
yeah.
the complete one. So
Yeah.
if you're planning to participate in the class by Zoom, then I would recommend that you borrow a copy of the Siddur so that you can have it in your house, and you can borrow one from Temple Beth-El if you're here in Great Neck, no problem. Judy, Judy R, you could go by Temple Israel and borrow one if you don't have one. That shouldn't be a problem. And Anita, you have one.
Well,
So-
actually also there's a Kindle version and I have Kindle also. It's really nice to be able to have it any place. So
Yeah, you can get them online and whatever. So, but we will be using Mishkan Tefillah as our kind of base text, because the goal is to learn about the Siddur and become familiar with it and build a relationship with it. And so we want to have that. Okay, so thank you all. Sorry for the few minutes delay. Thank you to Howard and Lee and everyone who was helping to set up here. We got our setup. I just need to work out, some of the setup kinks and everything and transferring from the chapel
We just lost you.
to here and all that, but we'll get that. So welcome to our class, and we have somebody new I don't know here coming in, Susan Kimmel. Does anybody know?
We know Susan.
Oh, okay.
Former couples club president.
Oh, okay, so she's coming in. Susan, welcome. Yeah, I see, we leave at 10:15. So our class goes till 10:15, so we'll wrap up. The way, Susan Kimmel, hi, I'm Rabbi Stoller. I haven't met you yet, but you're famous here in this room.
Thank you.
Let's see, I see your ceiling, Susan, but I don't see you.
No, I will not put myself on.
You're not gonna put yourself on?
No, thank you. I just came back from the gym and I'm all sweaty and you don't want to see me, so no.
Oh, okay, all right. Well, thanks for joining us. Welcome. All right, friends. So this is a class that I'm very excited to start and to teach. I have been wanting to do this kind of class for quite a while, and now we have an opportunity to do it. This will be an ongoing class, meaning we're going to meet every Thursday. So it's not finite. We're not trying to jam in any kind of, a certain amount of material in a limited amount of time. The methodology of this class will be to study the Siddur and just kind of, wherever we finish up in one session, we'll just pick up there in the next session. And I have a general structure in mind, which is given to us by the Siddur, but there's also plenty of room for taking, for weaving and taking detours as something interesting comes up and we want to explore it. We'll do that. And because it's ongoing, I don't feel any kind of pressure of like, we need to get this done today. Some of you I know have studied with me in that kind of fashion before. It's my favorite way to teach because it really enables us to dig deeply and just see where things take us. And of course this is preceded by the morning minyan too, so I hope that you'll feel free to come to minyan when you can, have bagels and come to class, participate on Zoom. You don't, if you miss it, it's fine. It doesn't matter. It's an every week class, and so you come when you can come and participate when you can.
Did you press record?
Yes, it's being recorded. Yeah, so we will record this too and archive it so that you can watch if you miss the class. Okay, so that is the general idea. Hi, Vicki.
I'm so sorry, I'm late.
Good morning.
Hi, and what?
I'm Courtney, my dog.
Oh, Courtney, it's good to see you again.
Here, sorry we're late.
Oh, no worries. Come on in. So I think maybe we want to start by going around and introducing ourselves because I'm not sure that everybody knows each other since there's some new folks today. So we'll go around the room. Linda, you want to start?
Yes, I'm Linda Diamond.
And hopefully, wait, can everyone see Linda? Yeah, there you go. You want to say your name again?
Linda Diamond.
There's Linda. You should be able to see her. Do you see Linda?
No.
All right.
Yes.
Kaplan. Vicky Silver.
Hi, I'm Courtney Silver, Vicky's daughter.
Howard Herman.
Gail Monister.
Nina Compliment. Susan Kimmel. Hello.
Hi, ladies.
Elaine Springer.
Alfred Goldenberg.
Linda Goldenberg.
Wonderful. I'm Rabbi Stoller. And then online, go ahead, Dorothy.
I'm Dorothy Greenbaum. Hi, everybody.
Hi, Anita.
Anita Dansker in Indianapolis, Indiana.
Karen S.
Morning, Aaron Siegel.
Karen's in Great Neck. Wonderful. Shelley.
Everybody, I'm Shelley Riskin and I'm in the Chicago area.
Wonderful. Oh, there's Susan. Hi, nice to see your face, Susan. Go ahead. You want to introduce yourself?
Susan Kimmel from Port Washington.
Port Washington. Wonderful. And Judy R., you there?
I'm here.
Oh, I don't see you. Judy, we don't see you. There you are.
Okay, Judy Rothman, Omaha, Nebraska.
All right, so we've got students from different places. This is a lot of fun. And if you're here in the room, help yourself to bagels and coffee. Okay, so today I want to do some kind of introductory stuff. I also want to hear from you. Oh, Arlene. Oh, Arlene.
Hi.
Hey, Arlene, can you put? Oh, I don't see you.
No, you're not going to see me.
Oh, okay. Okay, you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Arlene Nevins, and I'm here in Great Neck.
Wonderful. Welcome, Arlene.
You're
Okay.
across the street.
Across the street. Okay, so I'd like to start off by hearing from you guys. What interests you about studying the Siddur, and then I want to kind of get into a big picture introduction to the Siddur. So, tell me, like, why are you interested in learning the Siddur?
It's something we look at during the week for some people, most of us Friday night or Saturday morning.
Uh-huh.
And what the changes may be depending upon when you're looking at it.
Uh-huh.
And know what the differences are and what the similarities are.
Okay, nice, thank you, Elaine. Howard?
Because Reform Judaism has more flexibility in deciding, I think, what goes into a Siddur and what gets left out. I'm interested in knowing about prayers that had to be included, prayers that were included because some group of Reform Jews decided that they belonged in our prayer book, and which prayers may have gotten left out.
Mm-hmm. Nice. Thank you. Courtney?
Yes, I think that there's a great lack of spiritual guidance in my life, hence my Jewish guilt. So, here I am.
Very nice. Okay.
I'm very much interested in it, and certainly your sermon has really resonated with me.
Wonderful. Thank you, Courtney. Okay, beautiful. Anita, go ahead.
I read Hebrew and I understand words in prayers, not the whole prayer in Hebrew. And I'd like to know more about, I like to get Hebrew better. As I'm learning more, I'm understanding that a lot of the prayers that we say are actually Psalms. And so I'd like to, I've never been a Psalms person, but I'm actually taking a class at Orange County Community Scholarship Program in California. And right now it's on Psalms, and I'm appreciating Psalms in a new way, so that helps. And
Nice.
I'm just really, I guess I'll say it, I've never said it public before, but I've wanted to be a rabbi for a long time, so.
Oh, wow. Very cool. Beautiful. Thank you for the courage and sharing that. Shelley, yeah, and then Linda. Go ahead, Shelley.
I apologize if anybody said this, because it's kind of hard to hear the in-person people, for me anyway. So I want to say that, first of all, studying with you, Rabbi, is such a pleasure. The rabbi, for those of you that don't know, was our associate rabbi at BJBE in Deerfield, Illinois, outside of Chicago. And then I followed him to Temple Israel, and I'm following him to Beth-El. And so, I mean, I pray these prayers every single day, daily minyan. And I still have so many questions about them. One of them is, having grown up classical reform, which means that when the Mishaberach came in, I thought it was some new age thing. I didn't even know that it was an ancient Hebrew thing that you do. I mean, prayers like the prayer that says, thank God for not making me a woman. But we changed that in the Daily Miracles. We don't say that anymore. So I'm interested in those and diving deeper into maybe the final thing is there's certain choreography and call and response that we don't do that I'm interested in. Kadosh, kadosh, kadosh. That whole part of the Amidah is not meant, I just found out, for everybody to say the entire thing. It's a call and response. So I'm interested in those types of things as well.
Very nice, the choreographic pieces. Cool, Linda.
I realized during Rosh Hashanah services and Yom Kippur services, a lot of these prayers are very, very ancient. And I was looking at the bottom of the pages of where the prayers came from and the people associated with the prayers, and I thought that was fascinating. And so I'd like to learn more about the history, such as, like Maimonides or whoever wrote the prayer and how it came into being.
Okay, good, very nice. Thank you. Dorothy, go ahead.
I'm taking one of several attempts at learning Hebrew. And this particular teacher talks about the mysticism of Hebrew words and how sometimes you can just take the letters, invert them a little bit, and you get a parallel meaning or a more a greater understanding. But all the letters that are similar or the same in different words may have some hidden connections. And I'm interested in finding out if that's the case in the prayer book as well, and to open my eyes to what they are.
Okay, good, very nice, very nice. All right, so you guys have raised, lots of different angles in studying the Siddur, all of which are great and which we'll do. And that's kind of the benefit of this kind of format, is that we can take some time to explore the language, and we can explore the history, and we can look at the changes, from the traditional Siddur to the Reformed Siddur, all of these kinds of things. So we're definitely going to do that. I have some books here with me that I just want to show you, because I'm planning to use these as helpers for us, in addition to some other sources too. But these are really interesting books. So this one here is called the Hirsch Siddur. This is the Siddur of Rabbi Samson Raphael Hirsch. He wrote a commentary to the prayer book. Samson Raphael Hirsch is really fascinating. We use him in our Torah study because he also wrote a commentary on the Torah. He was a German Orthodox rabbi, 19th century Germany, and he offers interesting perspectives on the prayer. So we're going to look at him for help. Here I have this one. Yeah, this one is a Siddur published by Koren with the commentary of Rabbi Joseph Soloveitchik, who's one of my favorites. This is a great book too. He's got excellent commentary on the liturgy, so we'll look at him. And then this one here, also published by the same Koren, is Siddur with the commentary of Rabbi Jonathan Sachs on it. So there are many other Siddur commentaries too. So we're gonna look at these and some other sources as well as we work through it.
What is this dates of Soloveitchik?
Soloveitchik is 20th century. He died, I want to say, around 1994. Yeah, Soloveitchik. Rabbi Soloveitchik was he was really the leader of modern Orthodoxy in America in the 20th century. Taught at Yeshiva University in New York City, and very, very important philosopher and thinker. Samson Raphael Hirsch was 19th century Germany.
Was he also Orthodox?
Yes, he's really the father of modern Orthodoxy in Germany. He was a contemporary of the founders of Reformed Judaism in Germany at the same time, and then Sachs, also Orthodox British. There are Reformed texts too. There's a volume, a set of volumes actually that we'll look at too. I just didn't bring them with me today, but there's a set called My People's Prayer Book, You may have seen it. It's excellent. And it's got commentaries on the liturgy from a variety of scholars, including Reformed scholars. Rabbi David Ellenson wrote a commentary. He was the president of Hebrew Union College for a number of years. So we'll look at that. There's any number of sources that we'll look at. I just had these handy and I wanted to bring them in. Yeah, Gail.
So maybe we could look at what some of us have grown up with, the union prayer.
Yes, the union
how
prayer.
words changed and what might have changed into our.
Yeah, we'll do that too.
modern.
We'll do some comparisons with the Union Prayer Book from Classical Reformed Judaism and with Gates of Prayer from our previous prayer book before Mishkan Tefillah. We'll also have opportunity to look at the conservative movement's prayer book. Like there are lots of different sources that we'll look at. And all these that I share with you are in English, so that's very helpful. Okay, so I want to start off. Let's start off with our blessing, and then we're gonna talk about philosophy of prayer to begin with. Asking the question of what are we doing in prayer, and what is the role of the Siddur in the act of prayer? Okay, so let's start with our blessing. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu mishpotav v'tzivanu la'asot b'divrei Torah. Okay, so I'm going to pull up something here. I didn't make photocopies of this because I just thought of it this morning that I wanted to share with you while we were here in the Minyan. So give me a second to pull it up. We'll just look at it on the screen, and I'll read it. I'll read it so that we can all hear it if you're not able to see it online. So let me share the screen. Okay. All right. So these are some of my favorite texts on prayer. Some of you may have studied them with me before, but definitely worth looking at them again. All right. So this first one that I said here as an introduction to this text study, I think is so important, from Rabbi Abraham Joshua Heschel. He says, "Our problem is not that we don't know what to say. Our problem is that we don't know how to pray." Okay, I'd like to reflect on that text for a minute, on his statement. Does that resonate with you? Courtney?
Yes, I think that what it really says to me, our problems that we don't know what to say.
Courtney, would you mind speaking up a little?
Sure, sorry.
Yeah.
Our problem's not that we don't know what to say, and I think there's so much fragmentation within the self and reflection, and people are afraid of that too. It's self-revelation, and it could be a whole complex of things. And there are problems that we don't know how to pray. And there's that uniform formality. There's somebody like me, for instance, seeking spiritual guidance. I don't know how to pray. I don't know how to really find that inner self, that true self, revealing myself to God, and letting go of that fear of revealing myself to self.
Okay, very nice. Thank you, Courtney. Yeah, Howard.
Just a little anecdote. I want to quote a legendary and beloved member of blessed memory, Ilse Feldheim, the wife of our temple educator, but a person of great stature in her own right. And I remember Ilse one day said, in some context of learning, she said, "Did you ever see anybody daven at Temple Beth-El?" And I thought it was a very telling.
And so what can you say more about what does that mean to you?
I think she meant that she had never observed, or that it was rare to see somebody at Temple Beth-El who was deeply spiritually putting themselves into prayer, but rather we all turn to page 23 and we read this prayer, or we do this or that, but that people don't have their heart and soul.
Okay. Very nice. Thank you, Howard. And I would say, I think that is what Heschel is meaning in part, by this statement. that, and we'll see this as we move through these texts, that reading the words from the prayer book and praying are two different things. Okay? Now, reading from the prayer book, using the prayer book in the act of prayer is a very important part of the act of prayer. But prayer isn't exhausted by or limited to reading the words on the page. And that's really important for us to understand. As we start to learn the Siddur and to develop a relationship with it, also what I'm hoping to do in this class, a major goal of this, is for us to learn how to pray. And for the Siddur to be a tool for us to help cultivate prayerfulness in ourselves. Okay? Vicky, your hand was up. Go ahead.
Yeah, I find that there are, I don't know if there's some.
Vicky, would you mind projecting a little just so that?
The different writings, not the prayers per se, in the Siddur, I find particularly Shabbat, I find them very comforting, and it puts me in a very spiritual place. And Shelley Riskin has recommended, who's in our morning minion, has recommended quite a number of books. And the one, I can't remember, but it was for the Days of the Rule. And I just found that so comforting. But my problem is, I don't think I have the vocabulary on my own. I know that there's a structure to prayer, which I've read about, particularly on Friday night. First you're supposed to praise God and so on and so forth. But I've heard, particularly amongst Christians, they'll say, I shall pray for you. And sometimes I question them, and they would tell me how, they've got this relationship with Jesus, and they talk to him. And I just think it's wonderful. But I don't have that level of comfort. I can't say, God, this is what's, I just can't. I don't feel, and I think I'm lacking the vocabulary. Can you be that informal, like just speak to God like he's a friend? People do that. I just envy it. I just wish I could do it. So I'm hoping to gain access.
Good, and that we're going to do that. I hope that for you too. And at the same time as you're talking, Vicky, Lee was kind of shuddering.
I think of when people say, I'll pray for you, I find that creepy.
Creepy.
I find that creepy.
Hold on, Martha. We have a couple people online. Okay, so what we're bringing up to the fore, and starting with Howard's comment, is I think that there is a certain level of discomfort with prayer in Reformed Jewish culture. That's something that we should explore as we learn together. I don't know exactly why, that is. One thing that I can point to, I guess, is that, our Reform Judaism is rooted in the intellectual and spiritual environment of the 19th century, which was an age of, this is a post-Enlightenment, an age of science and reason, in a way that's maybe a little different from our age of science and reason. But this was not, the Enlightenment happens, it takes place in the 18th century in Europe, where, reason as a way of encountering the world and thinking about things is really, born in a new way, and science is, rise to the top of how people think about the world and about themselves. And the 19th century is like the heyday. In 1885, when the founders of American Reformed Judaism came together and wrote a statement of principles. So what we're about, I'm gonna show this to you because it's important to see. Let's go over here. They defined, their brand of religiosity in these terms. So let's look over here at the statement of principles of Reformed Judaism from 1885. Okay, and here we're going to look down. Well, some of the, let's look at principle number 1. It says here, I recognize it's a little small, so, okay. We recognize in every religion an attempt to grasp the infinite, and in every mode, source, or book of revelation held sacred, in any religious system, the consciousness of the indwelling of God in man. We hold that Judaism presents the highest conception of the God idea as taught in our holy scriptures and developed and spiritualized by the Jewish teachers in accordance with the moral and philosophical progress of their respective ages. We maintain that Judaism preserved and defended amidst continual struggles and trials under enforced isolation this God idea as the central religious truth for the human race. Notice the language here, the God idea, okay? And I want to okay, let's look at number 6. This is the kind of most important one for this purpose. We recognize in Judaism a progressive religion ever striving to be in accord with the postulates of reason. We are convinced of the utmost necessity of preserving the historical identity with our great past. Christianity and Islam being daughter religions of Judaism, we appreciate their providential mission to aid in the spreading of monotheistic and moral truth. We acknowledge that the spirit of broad humanity of our age is our ally in the fulfillment of our mission, and therefore we extend the hand of fellowship to all who cooperate with us in the establishment of the reign of truth and righteousness among men. Okay, so you can kind of get this sense here of classical Reformed Judaism making these statements about the God idea and striving to be in accordance with the postulates of reason, that why, prayer and, and spirituality and so forth is maybe a little bit at an arm's length here. This is a form of religion that's about the intellect, right? And so God, so there's a certain discomfort, I think, with God and closeness to God, and that comes through here. I think whether we realize it or not, we as Reformed Jews are heirs to that way of thinking and being in that form of religiosity. And so I think in Reform culture, there is a certain level of discomfort or not knowing what to do with the concept, with God and with prayer. So what I think we're hearing from some of us around the table is very much reflective of that. Dorothy has had her hand up for a while. I want to get to you. Dorothy, go ahead.
Thank you. I'm actually questioning if prayer can only be performed with words. If sometimes the cry of the heart is prayer more than the recitation of the words of the prayer.
That's a great question. We're going to get to that as we move, when we get to Heschel and Soloveitchik through some of these texts here. I think the way I would answer you is yes, for sure. Let's see what these thinkers say and how we can kind of unpack that a little bit. Martha had her hand up. Go ahead, Martha.
No, that was before what you say, what I think is when we do from the Zihur, we actually...
Can you speak up a little, Martha?
We are actually, it's a communal prayer that connects us to our ancestors.
Yeah.
And the prayer which I like very much is when after we have the Amidah, we recite the Amidah, we do go into personal prayer. And that to me, I think that it serves two purposes. You know, this is the part where we are a community and keep us connected to the past. And the personal prayer is where we ask. And there are certain prayers there. One of them that are, you know, learning how to pray. For me, the best prayer is the one that is before that it says, God, give me wisdom to handle this situation. Not that I want God to solve my problems, but I want wisdom on how to solve that problem.
Yeah. Okay, good. So you're pointing to something, Martha, that's important, and it's complementary with Dorothy's question. So Dorothy was talking about a prayer without words, like the inner prayer, you know, of the self. And Martha, you're talking about the communal prayer. And in Jewish prayer, it's both and. Okay, and that's something that's important for us to understand too. What, you know, in our tradition, in order to, for a full prayer service, what do we need to have? A minyan, right? So a minyan is 10 adults, 10 Jewish adults constitute a minyan. Why is minyan necessary for prayer? Any ideas on that?
It's a community.
Community, yes. So minyan in halakha, which is Jewish law, a group of 10 constitutes a public. Okay, so that that fewer than 10 is not a public domain. If you have a group of 6 or 9, okay, in halakha, you don't yet have a community. You have a group of people who are in the same room, but that's different from a community. A community, creating a public domain, requires 10 or more. And prayer, in its fullness, the fullness of its expression, in Judaism, is a public act. Now, that's not to say that there isn't private prayer too. There is. And even if you don't have a minyan, you still do prayer. You know, prayer is a mitzvah daily, and you still do it even if you don't have a minyan, but there are certain parts of the liturgy that you don't recite because private prayer that way, while good and a mitzvah, is also seen by the tradition as not the fullness of the act. Okay, so we do pray in community, and the Siddur gives us the communal language of prayer. So you also need what Dorothy was saying, which is the language of the individual. Right. And we're going to talk about how all this kind of works in two separate levels and also together. Okay, Shelley, go ahead.
Prayer. I mean, Heschel also said when he was marching with Dr. Martin Luther King that he said that he was praying with his feet. And even for me in my dance class, I thought, oh yeah, I'm dancing. It's praying with my feet because it's so joyful. And so when I pray, you know, particularly in the daily minyan, which happens so early in the morning, it's a focus. It's a focus. And what is the focus? The focus right away tells you is gratitude. And that doesn't matter if it's the daily minyan, if it's Shabbat, whatever. Gratitude, it immediately focuses me on that. And even in the Amidah, where we have the silent piece of it, but you have in the daily minyan, you've got those themes for the private prayer. Now, it doesn't mean we have to do it, but again, that's that focus that I have to be aware. I have to think about knowledge and about forgiveness and about abundance and all of those things. And so that perspective, that immediate focus, I think is very powerful.
Good. Yeah, and so in that way, that's one function of the Siddur, is that it gives us spiritual vocabulary. I titled this class Judaism Spiritual Vocabulary because I remember it was Vicky or Courtney, I think, said, I come before God. I mean, what do I say to Courtney? And they're like, I don't know what to say. I mean, when you think about what we're doing in prayer, you're coming before God, face to face, as it were, with infinity. With the creator of the universe, with infinity. We're just a finite little person. It's like, how do you even do that? What do you say? Sometimes, what's that, Courtney? Sometimes prayer flows easily, from within. And we, other times we come to prayer and you don't even know what to say. The liturgy gives us vocabulary to help us in a conversation with God. And so I think what Shelley is describing here is like, you read the words or see the themes in the page, and that can help you speak. It can stimulate the flow of prayer. So what we're going to see is that the act of prayer is a dialogical relationship between the self and the Siddur, as a way of engaging with God. If we have only the one or the other, prayer is difficult. Okay, so the Siddur is meant to be our companion in prayer. Okay, so that's an important insight that I think Courtney and Shelley and others have helped to bring out. Courtney, go ahead, and then we're going to have Karen online.
I think it's interesting how in the last sentence where it said rain.
Say again?
It said rain.
Rain.
And then you touch upon air. And I believe that there is a hierarchy. You have the divine.
Thank you.
You have the divine, and we're all members of God's kingdom. And that is to be recognized. And I think that also, excuse me, 18th century, the boom of technology and science, it's like science and progress, and being just like minuscule, it makes us really question. We want to revert to the old, to the classic, what really is, speaks to the depths of our soul. And with all of this, it's like, okay, well, how do we prove something that's not tangible, that we don't see, but we are supposed to be the image of God? So you literally have a mirror. But somebody like myself, I feel selfish having that mirror. I can't say to you, unfortunately, and God forgive me, I would feel most selfish approaching God and saying, help me with X, Y, Z. Because who am I to ask?
Who am I to ask? Yeah.
And the hierarchy
Does that resonate with others? Anybody feel what Courtney is describing?
I think
That's Vicky, go ahead.
It was hard to hear her articulate.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. If we had a hard time hearing Courtney. Courtney said that she feels a certain selfishness or self-consciousness in approaching God because who am I to ask something of God? Okay. Yeah. Vicky, as a follow-up to that. Go ahead, Vicky.
Yeah, I think there are two things here.
And let's be sure to speak loudly.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I think there are two issues here because of my daughters, I sort of know. One is it's sort of the wrong notion. We don't go to prayer to ask. It's not like when I pray, what I'm doing is asking. I think that sometimes we get it confused. I know I did for many years, and how do we ask? Actually, from what I've read, you're not even supposed to ask, and that's what I feel uncomfortable
Well,
with.
let's pause that. Yeah.
The other thing was, in Courtney's case, I think it's also a contributing factor to that is that when you look around and there are so many people in such desperate circumstances, I think it humbles one and makes one feel, who am I to ask when others are in such, dire circumstances?
Right. My needs compared to somebody who's. who has no food or doesn't have a place to live.
Exactly.
My needs are insignificant or
Yeah.
whatever. Who am I to ask? Okay, these are all excellent questions. I do want to say about asking that asking is an important part of prayer. Okay, and we shouldn't, and so there are three, the sages say there are three types of prayer. And all three are embodied in the prayer service at once, in different forms. There's praise, there's petition, which is asking, and there's gratitude. Okay, those are the three kinds of prayer, and all of the prayers in the liturgy can be categorized into one of those three. Okay, now what you might be referring to or thinking of, Vicky, is, and here's the thing about praying only on Shabbat. That on Shabbat, we don't ask. Why? Okay, think about it this way. Because Shabbat is the day of rest, not only for us, but also for God. It's as though, if we can make the analogy, that God doesn't have office hours on Shabbat because God's resting. So on Shabbat, our prayer is praise and gratitude, but not petition. But during the weekdays, Sunday through Friday, petition is an important part of our prayer. So in Reform culture, when we're used to praying only on Shabbat, we don't encounter that part of the liturgy, actually. Like if you're only familiar with the Shabbat prayers, you don't know that the substance of the daily Amidah, which is the central prayer of the Jewish liturgy, is all about asking. Because on Shabbat, that part of the liturgy is removed. And it's replaced by one blessing, which is thanking God for giving us the day of rest. Okay? So, we'll see as we study this, we're going to study the weekday liturgy and look at it in next to the Shabbat liturgy. We'll learn all of these things. But you'll see that our relationship with God, which is structured in part by the Siddur, tells us something about, how to interact with God and like to understand the difference between working hours and resting hours and all of this. Okay? So if someone, I was going to get to somebody on Karen S. Thank you, Karen S. Go ahead.
I may sound redundant at this point. I'm thinking. Well, thank you for this last this distinction on the different kinds of prayer, because I think it answers some of my own internal debates. I find, for me personally, coming from a really atheist background, but deeply spiritual child of the 60s, I don't need a supernatural concept of a divine being to lead a moral, ethical, or spiritual life. But I did find community coming to Beth-El, and it's only 12 years ago now, but both the English poetry and commentary immediately grabbed me. And then something very mystical happened that had not happened in all my 50 prior years of chanting in Sanskrit and what have you. But literally the forms of the Hebrew letters And I'm getting chills as I talk about it because it literally, I see them as flames dancing. And I knew something deeply beyond words was happening to me.
Beautiful. Thank you, Karen.
So did you say strings or?
Interesting.
No, she said flames.
Oh, flames.
Yeah. So yes, you know, in Jewish tradition, the Hebrew letters have all kinds of significance apart from their role as, you know, pronouncing
But I
words.
also wanted to add, thank you, Shelley, also, that, you know, when I was 16 and graduating Great Neck North, a friend of mine got married quite young at Temple Beth-El, and I was a bridesmaid, and Rabbi Rudin officiated. And I remember sitting there, and this was 1961. So it was the civil rights era, and knowing this man from the political, social action aspect, but watching this man lead this wedding